Hey, what is up, everybody?
And welcome back to another episode of Mile Higher Podcast. It's episode 357. I'm your host, Kendall.
And I'm your host, Josh.
And we are joined by our production team, Janelle and Ian.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
Wow.
I like that. I like that. Very nice.
Anyway.
Or good morning or good night, wherever you are.
Isn't that what they say on The Truman Show?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our boy Jim.
That's a great movie.
The best. Let's not get into a tangent about that, though, because we have a very complicated case to get into today, you guys. We're going to be talking about a case that occurred back in 2014 in Koh Tao, Thailand, the murder of two British tourists. We're going to be talking about Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, whose deaths were very brutal. And to this day, there is justice technically, but there's a lot of debate over whether or not justice was actually served. And the investigation here is mind-blowing how this all unfolded.
Well, it's just the Thai criminal justice system is very different than the way that it is here in the U.S. But also the fact that this island has 6 police officers on it, and they literally had to fly a bunch more police officers down from Bangkok to assist in the investigation because it's they did not know how to process a murder scene correctly and protect the forensic evidence, especially. But what's interesting about Koh Tao is it has a few nicknames out there. Turtle Island is one, which is basically what Koh Tao means, but also Death Island gets thrown out there as well because there is a surprising amount of suspicious deaths of tourists on this island. And so we're going to be diving a lot deeper than a lot of coverage on this case goes because to really understand what's going on and why there are so many suspicious deaths here and also what could have happened to David and Hannah, we have to take a look at who runs the island because this island is essentially run by 5 different families. And these families are very powerful. They've been there for a very long time, and they basically self-govern themselves on the island. They're not really, they're out there in the middle of the Gulf of Thailand, out in the middle of the ocean, and they've been there since the island started having civilization on it. And so they, people refer to them as the Thai Mafia, like they're sort of the way they operate and the way that they have control over the businesses and the tourism on this island. And the way that they conduct business and including crime reminds people of the way a mafia would operate. So,
yep, certainly seems that way.
Which is interesting because this is a very, very popular tourist destination. One of the more popular islands that you might have heard of before is Koh Samui. And we actually went on our honeymoon to Thailand
a long time ago,
in
almost
2016.
Yep.
And I remember looking at Koh Samui as a possible destination. And so Koh Tao is I believe, just a little bit northwest of Koh Samui or real close to it. And we had no idea. We had no idea like what it's like, or anything. So we just kind of showed up fresh, we had no idea what we were in for.
We were like 23, 24.
Yeah. Very, very cool experience, by the way.
Best week of my life, truly.
Stunning country. The people couldn't have been nicer. We had an overall great experience. We didn't actually go to Koh Samui or Koh Tao. We went to Phuket, and then we stayed
2 hours away.
Yeah, south of there, and then we stayed on an island for half of our trip called Koh Yao Ye.
Oh yeah.
And that was cool because there's all these little islands though off the coast of Thailand on both sides, and so they're amazing places to visit. There's lots of
stunning. I've never
cool
seen
hotels.
Anywhere as beautiful as those islands, especially Sairee Beach. That one just blew my mind.
Yeah, and then I always forget what the name of it is, but the bay. That like bay area where I think movies have been shot, it's like crystal clear waters.
They call it the James Bond Island or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, James Bond, one of the movies was filmed there or something like that. Yeah. But it's just stunning. I mean, it really is a beautiful, beautiful destination. But one of the things that people don't think about often when planning trips there is what's going on below the surface, right? You assume go to a touristy destination that it's safe and that there's not a whole lot you need to worry about. But as we'll see with Koh Tao, there's this whole sort of seedy underground that's happening there. And we'll dig into it and really try to understand what's kind of lying beneath the surface and why maybe perhaps the real killers were never brought to justice and maybe they got the wrong guys. And it's a crazy one.
Yeah. I can't. It's been over 10 years since they were murdered. We were there like 2 years after them, something like that. But yeah, it's interesting to dive deeper into the darker side of Thailand for sure, because I mean, when we were there, so clueless, and it was just beautiful. And the people there like could not have been nicer. Some of the nicest people I feel like I've ever met, and the temples everything was just gorgeous and seemed so perfect. But of course, nowhere's truly perfect. There's corruption everywhere.
Including here.
Definitely. I was going to say our criminal justice system, it's different, but it's pretty fucked up too. This is
in different
like
ways.
Level.
In different ways, for sure.
This is insane. But there's a lot to go over. I think we should go ahead and just jump in.
Yeah. Real quick before I do, though, I wanted to remind everybody there are some items still left on milehighmerch.com. Our moving sale is only going to be up for probably a few more weeks, if that. And so you get 50% off all items right now.
Yep.
So go take advantage of that. Stock up, because probably never see a sale like that again. We're actually moving distributors, so that's why the sale is so steep. But there are some great items still on there for all of the shows here at Mile Higher Media.
Also, 100% of your purchases support our foundation, Higher Hope.
Yes. 100% of profits go to Higher Hope. So go check it out, milehighmerch.com. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, though, starting with Koh Tao, because we got to go and talk about the island itself and the beginnings of this island to really understand kind of how all these events unfold in the way that they do. So Koh Tao, like I mentioned earlier, is Turtle Island in English, and it's named after its shape. Because if you look at this island from an aerial perspective, really, you're going to see it's kind of got a turtle shell shape to it, which is kind of cool. And a lot of the islands are very unique, very beautiful out there in Thailand. But according to journalist Susan Buchanan, the island spent most of its history as a virgin island, completely uninhabited by humans, as many islands start out all around the world, right? And this for some good reasons, too. At only 8 square miles in size, the island is one of the smallest within the Chumpon Island group, with the neighboring islands of Koh Samui and Koh Phanong having much more room for human growth. So these islands are much larger than Koh Tao. It's also covered in coconut trees. So in the beginning, the island would see visitors from occasional fishermen, or, a sailor would be sailing by and stop over real quick for, rest or to take shelter from a storm. But no one lived on the island long term. The first time anyone from the Thai government that visited the island was in 1899, when King Chulalongkorn scratched his monogram onto a boulder near Sairee Beach. And in 1933, the island was transformed into a brutal political prison, holding around 50 members of an armed political uprising on another nearby island. And during its operation, prisoners were tortured, they were beaten, starved, and left with untreated malaria. And it wasn't until 1947 that Prime Minister Quang Abaiwang was appalled by the island's condition and pardoned all the prisoners held there, and once again the island was abandoned. According to locals, 2 brothers, Kun Wam and Kun O, arrived on Koh Tao later that same year after leaving Koh Phanong. The 2 men claimed Sairee Beach before their families joined them to help develop the island. The 5 local families who control much of the land on Koh Tao are said to have descended from this initial group. However, it wasn't until the 1980s and the 90s that Koh Tao became popular, with international tourists looking for pristine dive spots outside the packed and crowded islands nearby. Thailand is world-renowned for its diving. We've not scuba dived. We're snorkelers. But the snorkeling there, phenomenal.
It was.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, the best I've ever. Better than Australia, although we had bad weather when we were in.
We did have bad weather, and we went to the Great Barrier Reef that was completely bleached.
Yeah.
It was pretty sad.
Yeah.
And just a bummer.
No, but Thailand was
awesome.
I wish I could scuba dive. I would love to dive. My ears are all messed up.
Same.
Yours are too? That's news to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd try it. I don't know how to like depressurize my ears though.
Well, they teach
that
you.
Kind of freaks me out a little bit to like blow smoke out of my ears to get the
smoke,
get the water out,
to equalize, pressurize.
Yeah, I don't really understand that.
Janelle, your dad did a whole.
Well, you have to be certified most of the time, but yeah, he's certified and he's done dives in various parts of like the Caribbean and stuff. I think he did one in Hawaii, maybe. I really want to get certified.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I can pop my ears very easily, and I have like zero fear of the ocean. So I feel like I would absolutely love it. And I love snorkeling, but it's never like enough for me. Like, I want to like go down deeper. So
yeah,
it's one of my things that I'm wanting to do at some point.
I would love to do it, but
I think it's called PADI certified, right? PADI certified for scuba diving.
What about you, Ian? Do you have any interest?
I've done it.
Oh, you have?
I was trying to be humble, but I have. I've gone.
Well, we have an experienced one among us.
Humble man.
We didn't go very deep. The best part about it was I was doing it with my uncle, and he like couldn't sink with the rest of us until he farted. And then,
That's a real thing?
That was a real thing, man. Like for real, the gas was holding him up.
Interesting.
That's a lot of gas to hold up a grown man.
Big fart.
Yeah,
big fart.
Well, you have like weights. You have like weights that you like. I don't know how you, because you're holding them the whole time, but somehow you can like weight yourself to go down.
Do you like? We didn't have them. So
are you certified?
I don't know. I did the one.
Okay.
I did
Probably not.
The one dive. I think the dive was to get certified.
Where was it?
It was in the Cayman Islands.
How did you do? Like my dad had to take like a 6-week class at the fucking like rec center or something at like a specific place here, and then you had to like take a test.
I think for certain locations you can just do it without having to do the full shebang.
I think this counted as a class.
Damn.
I don't know. I'll go on my mom's Facebook.
Okay.
I'll find them. But my uncle farted and fell, and that was.
I've definitely seen advertisements for excursions where you can like do it all in one day.
Right.
Yeah, they'll do it as a part of like the training usually.
Yeah.
Like,
but you're not getting like a real certification.
Training dive, yeah.
It's just like a daily thing or something like that. I don't know the details.
I want to try the tethered approach.
Yeah.
I've done that.
You know, where you're not fully...
What's that called?
Scuba diving?
It's not.
Where you still get to go under the water.
There's a name for it.
Yeah, schnuba? It's like schnuba or something.
Yeah, I did that as a kid.
You look like you have like the space helmets on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that looks kind of fun. I'd try that first, then go to scuba diving.
Schnuba.
But anyways, getting back to Koh Tao, it's a great place for diving. People really sought it out. So to these first tourists, Koh Tao was rustic, and it was largely untouched, a beautiful paradise, and most stayed in huts along the beach and drank at bars made of driftwood. And as word got around that diving on the island was excellent, of course, more people are going to be like, yeah, let's go check it out, which caused these families that had settled this island to create more structures, beach seating, and restaurants made out of thatched wood. Eventually, concrete was poured to create the main town and port of Mahad. And permanent shops, dive schools, bars, and restaurants were put up as well. They did try to put electricity in early on, but they failed quite a bit before getting it right. But then hotels, nursing stations, which primarily treated diving-related injuries and food poisoning. Then they had ferries shuttling tourists from the island to island. And so Koh Tao's growth just really exploded. I mean, it was very, very rapid, and it was all happening without government oversight. And this mainly enriched the 5 local families and gave them extreme amounts of power over all the activity on the island. By 2014, Koh Tao had become Southeast Asia's most popular dive spot with over 100,000 visitors yearly. That's a lot of people coming to this island. And the initial draw to Koh Tao, besides the diving spots, was that it was pretty quiet compared to the party islands of Koh Samui and Koh Phangan. However, as Koh Tao increased in popularity, it also began to focus on the nightlife scene, which is going to bring all the youngins, bring the youngins over there for, who doesn't want to party on the beach, right? Like, it's a good time. And of course, the monthly full and half moon parties made the entire island boom with sound. Now, while the island was previously touted as safe before 2014, with no violent attacks on tourists in at least 8 years, though events later on would come to light after the events in this episode that might prove that otherwise. But the social and political structure of the island is largely unknown. It's important to note that the governmental presence on the island is basically non-existent. I think they have a mayor on the island.
And it's completely like he's just a figurehead,
He's
really.
the guy. Yeah. He's like the mayor, you know. In 2014, there were only 6 police officers for the entire location. So you're talking about an island where there's upwards of 7,000 people that just live there natively, but then there's all the tourists coming in and there's 6 police officers.
That's just crazy.
And there's partying, there's drinking, there's drugs, there's a lot of ways that things can go very wrong. So only having 6 law enforcement officers for the whole, and what are the chances all 6 are working at the same time, right? Probably not the case. So in addition to the tens of thousands of foreign tourists, Koh Tao has a year-round population of 2,000 Thai nationals. However, the largest group on the island are actually Burmese workers, with at least 5,000 on the island. And of these 5,000 Burmese workers, 1,000 to 2,000 are illegal immigrants. And following a 2014 coup that installed a military dictatorship in Thailand, nationalist discourse framed these Burmese workers across the country as the cause of all the societal problems across Thailand. And because Koh Tao is so cut off from the rest of the world, the Burmese workers are at the mercy of these powerful families that work there, often dealing with serious workers and human rights abuses. And of the small amount that they're actually paid, the illegal immigrants are also extorted by the police, so they are not deported. They paid the local police anywhere between 500 and 2,000 baht. So in US dollars, it's $15 and $61 a month to, basically stay living on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd even charge them additional money if they wanted to drive a vehicle without a license. So as you can see, it's just the Wild West on Koh Tao. There's no regulation whatsoever, lots of extortion. And there are a few chances for upward mobility for the Burmese workers in Koh Tao. For a new business to start, it has to be at least 50% Thai owned. And what this often means on Koh Tao is going into business with the people who own the land, aka one of the 5 powerful families nicknamed the Koh Tao Mafia. And now, when we say mafia, quote unquote, this insinuates that all these families are engaged in criminal activities, but this has never been proven. They are often just referred to as a mafia because of their power and the family dynamics that are at play here. But there is at least one of these families that has been alleged to be engaged in extremely violent behavior. According to journalist Charlie Campbell, he said, tourists are almost comically unaware of a malevolent undercurrent in the island's life. So you might be wondering, who are these 5 families? Well, we have the names of some of them, including the Bon family, which owned the biggest dive school on Sairee Beach. Then there's the Mon family, which owned the Buddha View Resort. There's the Jetson family, which owned much less land than the others, but controlled the first petrol station on the island, which obviously that's going to be a great business there if you're the only petrol station. And they're one of the richest families. Then the 4th and unnamed family owned the Sunset Buri Resort. And then the 5th family, which is by far the most powerful, the richest, and allegedly the most violent family on the island, the Tuvichian clan. And they owned the AC1 Barn Resort, the Ocean View Resort on Sairee Beach, as well as at least one other resort called AC2. So remember Tuvichian, because they're very important to this case. But back to Susan Buchanan. She recalled at least 2 violent events from before 2014. The first was when Burmese workers started coming to the island, and the small dive shop where she worked had employed one of them. However, one of these 5 family members drove up and asked them to look in his trunk. And in the back of his trunk contained the body of a murdered Burmese man. And he told them this would happen to any Burmese person they employed.
It's so fucked up.
Right. And while playing poker with another powerful family member and a local butcher, Mr. Bon of the Bon family had won a large sum of money. A few days later, he was shot to death in broad daylight by the butcher who owed a ton of money to one of the other families. According to rumors, the butcher's family received large payments while he was incarcerated. The death of Mr. Bon, who at this point was the most powerful man on the island, led to the Tuvichian family's takeover of Sairee Beach. And the family leader, Warapon, and he took over and became the most powerful man after that of the Tuvichian family. So try to stay with us. There's a lot of family names and a lot of different names that make it confusing. But in 2013, while staying at a resort owned by Warapon's brother, Montriwat, Nick Pearson, along with his family, traveled to Koh Tao to visit his brother who had been working on the island. After spending New Year's Eve drinking and eating in town, Nick and his father returned to the hotel they were staying in, where his father saw Nick settle into bed. The next morning, Nick wouldn't open his door or answer any calls. So his family alerted hotel staff, and when they went into his room, he wasn't there, and they ended up finding his body floating in the sea off the side of a sheer cliff. Investigators quickly determined that he had accidentally, and I say that in quotes, fallen 50 feet to his death below. But Nick's mother felt like something was very, very wrong with this scene, and they actually had a British pathologist perform an autopsy on Nick's body, and he discovered that Nick had sustained injuries before his fall, leading to the possibility that he had been attacked and then dumped into the ocean. And to this day, Thai investigators have not reopened this case. So this is just one example of many of suspicious deaths that have happened on Koh Tao. And oftentimes, in other cases, the Thai authorities basically just, misadventure, right? They kind of like, well, they were drinking, so maybe they just fell and they died that way. But they do that quite a bit, and there's a lot of sketchy things that just don't add up when you look at these other cases. So keep that in mind. If you're somebody who lives in a home of any size, there's one thing you absolutely need to get, and it costs less than a coffee every single day. And that is a home security system from SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is different than all those other security systems out there. For one, they don't lock you up into these nasty contracts that are very, very expensive and basically make it so you can never leave. They make it extremely affordable to get top of the line, the newest tech in securing your home. They have Active Guard outdoor protection, which helps stop break-ins before they happen. You can get AI-powered cameras from SimpliSafe plus live monitoring from their actual real human agents that detect suspicious activity around your property. And if someone's lurking, agents can talk to them in real time. They can say, "What up? Turn your ass around," or "We're calling the police." It's like having a security guard that just lives at your home. SimpliSafe is always watching, no matter if you're there or you're away. There's always someone watching over your personal property. There's no contracts, there's no hidden fees. It was named Best Home Security Systems of 2025 by CNET, and over 4 million Americans, including us, trust SimpliSafe to protect their homes and their families. It has the #1 ranked customer service by Newsweek and USA Today, and their plans start at around $1 a day. It's just $1 a day. And what's great is that all of their systems are customizable for homes of all sizes and all different types. It really is the most customizable system I've ever seen out there. You can install it yourself. It's super, super easy, and they're there to help you along the way. I can't say enough good things about it. I think their tech is some of the best on the market. Their cameras are top notch. You can get indoor, outdoor cameras, and they have multi-functionalities, whether it's watching your kids playing outside in the backyard, or it's keeping an eye on your pets inside while you're away at work. Their cameras are there to keep eyes on everything, including your pets and your loved ones and your property. So what is not to love about it? And I even have a special offer for you. You can visit simplisafe.com/milehigher to claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan, and you get your first month free. That's simplisafe.com/milehigher, because there's no safe like SimpliSafe.
But to most tourists, of course, Koh Tao seemed like a true paradise, which is what attracted British tourists Hannah Witheridge and David Miller to the Ocean View Resort in September of 2014. Now, Hannah Witheridge grew up in the small coastal village of Hemsey, Norfolk, England. Hope I'm saying that right. With a population of only 3,000 people, Hannah was very close to her parents, Tony and Sue, and she had at least one sister that we know of named Laura, with whom she was very, very close with. And her family described her as fun, vibrant, and a beautiful young woman. And she certainly looked that way. She seems to have an energy about her when you look at her picture. And even from a young age, Hannah wanted to be a teacher. She attended the University of East Anglia and completed her 3-year BA in education in 2012. And the university said Hannah excelled in her studies. She was a very dedicated and highly motivated student. Her dissertation focused on the importance of outdoor learning in early childhood development. She also loved to ride horses and, of course, travel whenever she got the opportunity. Following her BA, Hannah got her postgraduate degree at Essex University, where she studied speech and language therapy with her housemate Lucy Dunkley. And according to Lucy, no one could say a bad word about her. She was just one of those beautiful, bubbly people, amazing inside and out. She was just a brilliant person and just irreplaceable. While on summer break in 2014, Hannah decided that she wanted to go on a trip before the semester started back up again in the fall. And initially, Hannah wanted to go on a solo trip to either Australia or Europe, but she heard about the island paradise of Koh Tao. However, her mother, Sue, and other members of the family, too, were very against the trip to Thailand as the government had just been overthrown as part of a coup earlier that year. And so they, assumed that the country could still be dangerous. Sue said, "I was out of my mind when she did this, but I relaxed when she got to the small island of Koh Tao because I knew she was just swimming and sunbathing. Plus, instead of going alone like she initially planned, Hannah planned to go with 4 other friends and told her mom that she would Skype with her every day." So early in September of 2014, Hannah settled into room A5 at the Ocean View Bungalows on Sairee Beach, owned by Montrewat Tuvichian. And during a full moon party on September 8th, she met another young Englishman who was also staying at Ocean View, David Miller. Now, David Miller grew up in Jersey, the largest of the Channel Islands between England and France. And although it had a pretty sizable population of 103,000 in 2021, its geographic isolation and history have created a culture unlike England or France, though most of its inhabitants consider themselves English. Now, his family said that David was an artist by temperament, so talented, had a creative eye that he carried with him through his life and in his degree. He was hardworking, bright, and conscientious with everything to look forward to. David was also a seasoned traveler and very beloved in his community. According to the assistant head teacher of Victoria College, which David attended on Jersey until the university said, he was a young man of huge potential, a particularly talented artist. There was so much he could be doing with his life. And after receiving his civil and structural engineering degree at Leeds University in June, he went to Australia for a 6-week work placement as part of a scholarship for a mining company. And after completing the scholarship, he planned on backpacking throughout South Asia before returning to England for his master's degree in June of 2015. So for September, he planned to visit Koh Tao with his friends. But once he met Hannah, he wanted to spend more time with her on the island before returning to the mainland. I mean, the two of them really seemed to hit it off.
On September 14th, Hannah, David, and their travel companions met at a bar on Sairee Beach to spend more time together. And this initial gathering was, pretty chill, pretty laid back, just hung out, drank some beers, and took some photos together. Just after midnight, the group went their separate ways, with David and his friends heading into town while Hannah's friends went to the AC bar on Sairee Beach, which was only a few hundred feet away from the Ocean View Bungalows where she was staying. And I had to look up these Ocean View Bungalows to see, what they looked like. I think I found them on TripAdvisor, and 2.4 stars out of 5. Beautiful views. Rooms are a little scary. But again, it's cheap, right? It's cheap. You're on the beach. Doesn't really matter. Somewhere to sleep at night. As previously mentioned, Montrewat Tuvichian, who owned the AC bar, which was also frequented by other members of the Tuvichian family, this bar was outwardly friendly to tourists, and rumors among locals and on Reddit suggest that it was a mafia bar. This is where they hung out. And it was best to be avoided by those unaware of the underground crime scene happening on Koh Tao. But at around 12:55 a.m., David was seen with his friend and travel companion James Ware. They stopped at a local convenience store to grab a quick sandwich before they returned to their bungalow just before 2 a.m. While in their room, David told his friend that he was going to quickly run out to get a fresh pack of cigarettes. However, instead of just grabbing some cigarettes, David made a detour to the AC bar at around 2 a.m. where he met up with Hannah once again. And we actually have some CCTV footage of Hannah walking towards the AC bar, followed by David. And this is the last footage of them being seen alive. And because this is CCTV footage and not great footage at that, there's also no audio. So for those listening, I will tell you what's going on here.
Okay, so you can see Hannah with her friends. She's in the middle, pink top, white skirt. Just walking through. And now you can see David come in. He's wearing the half gray, half blue t-shirt. Falling
with
behind
like some
them.
khaki shorts, it looks like.
Yeah. They look relaxed, no problems, as far as we know.
Yeah, and it's still very lively this time of night.
And in that last shot, Yeah, Hannah first, David follows behind her.
After this, details from here get very spotty, but according to Hannah's friends, she and David argued with the man at the bar who was a known associate of the Tuvician family, although it's unclear if he was a member of the family himself. It's also unclear what this argument was about. Rumors suggested that it had to do with Thailand's conservative culture and quote-unquote saving face. But if David and Hannah embrace each other within the bar, this man may have become angry and approached them, but still this is all very unconfirmed and again, just rumors. At around 2:15 a.m., Hannah and David were spotted leaving the bar on CCTV footage, which we don't have that particular clip, but the two were holding hands and heading towards Sairee Beach, either to return to their bungalow or to just go for a little moonlit walk on the beach. However, this would be the last time that either of them were seen alive. So just before dawn on September 15, 2014, a mute Burmese beach cleaner who is related to an employee of Montreal discovered Hannah and David's bodies only a few meters away from the Ocean View bungalow. This worker alerted her father, who in turn called Montreal, and he was the second person to look at the scene. He discovered that both Hannah and David were lying partially nude on the beach with their clothes strewn across the sand. Both had deep lacerations and wounds to their face, likely caused by a blood-stained garden hoe and wooden club that were found nearby. Hannah was found lying in the sand while David was floating face down just off the shoreline. Montreal said this of the crime scene, quote, "I never want to see that scene again. It is a scene that brings me no happiness at all," which is a strange sentence, but likely is just, the language barrier, doesn't speak very good English. But this area is surrounded by temples. I hope God will punish the person who committed this crime.
I'm sure that was just beyond disturbing to walk up on, not expecting it. Terrifying.
But quickly, the Thai Royal Police took the case. As we mentioned earlier, there's only 6 officers on the island at the time of the murders, and so they did very little to secure the scene. They really didn't know what they were doing here. For one, there were at least 10 large boats docked at Koh Tao around the time Hannah and David were murdered. However, throughout the day, at least 6 of them departed, in addition to a ferry that made frequent trips to the island of Koh Samui, which is where the airport is. So potentially the killer or perpetrator could have left on one of those boats, and law enforcement did nothing to make sure nobody left the island until they, figure out who was in the area and start questioning people. The crime scene and evidence were also completely mishandled. The garden hoe was given back to the presumed owner, which is just wild, who lived just a short distance from the crime scene, and very few of the investigators actually wore gloves. And tourists and Thai locals alike quickly flooded the scene. There's no crime tape up or anything like that. They're just all like crowding in, trying to get a look. There were even photos of a woman sunbathing while the investigation occurred behind her. So they didn't have the beach locked down at all.
Mm-hmm.
This was just a free-for-all.
Yep.
Plus, locals familiar with Montreal and the Tuvician family were shocked, because they know their reputation's not great, to see them actually in the scene where police officers are investigating, inside of the crime tape, which was just right around their bodies, not the entire scene. And it's very questionable, right? Like, why is this guy, part of the Tuvician family, literally talking police through the crime scene?
Yeah.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Doesn't seem like corrupted at all.
Yeah, he just discovered the scene and reported it, but why is he now in it?
Yeah.
Who knows what he's doing?
Right.
So, very, very sketchy. What's even worse, though, is that soon hundreds of photos of the grisly crime scene made their way online. And David's family even saw the photos before their son was officially named as one of the victims, which is
so fucked up. We don't know exactly how that unfolded, how they knew to look or were alerted to that ahead of time.
Yeah, it seems like there was like a news report saying like British tourists like found dead or murdered on Koh Tao. So obviously
they were looking out.
Right, they're looking out because they know their children are there.
God, so fucked up.
Yeah.
That is so messed up, dude.
And as news of the murders reached the mainland of Thailand, the commissioner of the Metropolitan State Police Bureau, Surat Yanggusak, scrambled to take control of the situation. He called David's family, actually, and apologized for the photos, and then ordered 60 police officers from Bangkok to fly down to Koh Tao, and they arrived with him nearly 6 hours after their bodies were discovered.
There's so many shocking parts about the initial way the crime scene was treated. But I think one of the parts that really just blew me away was the fact that the garden hoe was just given back to the owner. That day, that morning.
And it makes you wonder, like, who these police officers on the island are actually like loyal to.
Yeah.
Are they literally working for the crime family that's there, or are they working in upholding the standards of the Tyrol police? And that's a big question.
I mean, they were already confirmed prior to this of extorting all these illegal Burmese workers. You know, so it's I wouldn't say it's outside of their character to be a little corrupt.
I think
that's
it's
safe to say.
Yeah, pretty safe to say. It's obvious, really, where they stand, where their loyalty stands. But yeah, God, what a mess. So they went ahead and secured the already tampered with crime scene. So how much can you really secure it after that? They retrieved the garden hoe after they had already given it back. And then they discovered a used condom nearby with several cigarette butts. So here we have a clip, which is just news coverage at the scene that shows you how close they were to the hotel.
Locals on this island are at a real loss as to know how this could possibly happen. The backpacking community as well, which prides itself on its friendliness and its ability to look after its own, is also in a terrible state here on this little island in Thailand. I want to give you an idea of just how close Hannah and David were to home when tragedy struck. These are the apartments that they were staying in. They met here in adjoining rooms, and it was just over here where they were attacked, behind these rocks, which you can just see. And they'd come from the strip of bars, which is in the distance there. You can perhaps see some of the bars there jutting out onto the beach. So, as you can see, there's no distance at all. It's a few hundred meters from there to the rocks, and then no distance again to their hotel. And I think that is what has shocked everyone, that it was a busy place. They'd been enjoying a party and drinks over there. They were only walking a short distance to their hotel. But at night time, this area is pitch black. It's also very quiet. But there is a real sense of sadness on the island here, and a real sense of mystery. How could anyone do something as appalling as this?
Yeah, right there. They were so close.
It is crazy that this type of attack occurred and all these people didn't hear or see what happened.
Yep.
Especially with how close they were to the bungalows. And
it happens, though, in cases all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people did hear. No one ever said anything.
True. Yeah.
Or just thought it was people being loud and partying at night. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. But yeah, it's really, really disturbing to think about. But anyway, their bodies, along with other pieces of forensic evidence, were sent to Bangkok, where it was determined that Hannah died due to her injuries, and David's wounds caused him to be incapacitated before he drowned in the water. Just terrible deaths for both of them. And it was also, to make it even worse, it was discovered that Hannah had been raped, and DNA from 2 potential assailants was found on her body. Lieutenant General Panya Mamin took over the investigation and immediately listened to the local rumors that someone associated with the Tuvichian family had committed the murders. But while they investigated this lead, the story reached international attention, and soon the whole world was focused on the tiny island of Koh Tao. While commenting on the murders, coup leader and junta chief Prayut Chan-o-cha said, "Will tourists survive if they dress in bikinis? They would if they are not beautiful." Yeah,
what does that
really
mean?
said that. Exactly what you think it means. If they're beautiful, they have no chance. And if you're ugly, no one's going to care
safe?
about you. Yeah,
Oh my God.
basically is what he's insinuating there. Insane. And obviously this enraged anyone that was paying attention to this case. And he tried to back off his comments and did a great job at doing so. Really redirected everyone. Here's this. He goes, "Sometimes I speak too strongly." Yeah, buddy. We have to help take care of our nation and not let not good people mingle with us, such as unregistered alien workers. This sounds familiar. This statement would foreshadow the investigation's direction in the coming days, so you'll see where things go from here. But by September 23rd, a Thai news publication stated that someone had been arrested in the murders of Hannah and David. Lieutenant General Mammon identified this man as Montrewat and expressed interest in the whereabouts of his nephew, Namsad. Now, both men had been captured on CCTV cameras the night that Hannah and David were murdered in the vicinity of Sairee Beach. And Namsad was even seen running shirtless down the street late into the evening before he hopped on a ferry and left the island.
Thai police have released CCTV footage of a man they describe as the prime suspect in the murder of 2 young British tourists on the popular island resort of Koh Tao. This short moment caught on camera appears to show an Asian man running down an empty street at 3:44 a.m. Around an hour later, the man reappeared at a much slower pace.
Lieutenant General Maman said that there was enough evidence to implicate both men in the murders and curiously said that no scapegoats would be used in this investigation, which is just a generally strange fucking thing to say for many reasons.
It's an odd thing to say, like, don't worry, guys. Yeah. We're not going to scapegoat anyone.
Yeah, we're not going to cheat. We're not going to lie this time.
Right.
We'll see about that. But anyway, 10 days after the investigation, Lieutenant General Maman announced that they would soon have results from the DNA test and would have enough information to charge the 2 suspects with the crime. However, on the 25th of September, the investigation had completely changed its tune. According to them, the police had received CCTV footage that showed Namsad at the university in Bangkok at the time of the murders, and the man seen running shirtless in Koh Tao was unknown. However, people online quickly pointed out that the footage actually came from Namsad's apartment building in Bangkok, and the timestamp had been digitally altered. Still, though, this effectively ruled out anyone involved in the Tuvician family from the investigation, and investigators soon turned their attention to David's friends and eventually the large Burmese migrant population. Now, James Ware and his brother Christopher were stopped as they flew home to the UK, and the 2 of them were only questioned about a possible jealousy theory that either one or both of them were interested in Hannah, but since this was based on absolutely nothing, they were both quickly released and allowed to return to the UK.
Today, I'm stoked to tell you about this sponsor, which is pretty new to the show, but loving it so far. It's Function Health. Inside Function Health, you can test over 160 biomarkers from heart hormones to toxins, inflammation, and stress. And you do all of this through blood tests. And the whole process is extremely simple. I went through the process already. I've done 2 rounds of blood tests. You give blood, they send it off to the labs, and they give you all sorts of awesome results. And they're tests that you wouldn't otherwise get from a doctor. And I just got some of my results back from it. I'm still waiting on their clinicians to give me an overall summary of all my test results. But one of the interesting things that they actually show you is your biological age. So basically the rate at which you're aging and taking a look at, how the overall health of your body in relation to your calendar age. So actually mine came back saying 9.2 years younger than my calendar age. So I'm 32 years old. Function told me that my biological age is 23.6 years, which makes me feel really good, honestly. I'm aging like fine wine. It's really awesome stuff. And they give you all sorts of recommendations on supplements, on foods to eat to, increase some of those health results. And it's really a great tracking mechanism to track your health over time. You do these rounds of lab tests every year to see where your body's at, keep track of your progress. And it really gives you this inside look at your health that you wouldn't get anywhere else. I can't stress that enough. You won't get this from your PCP because they're usually doing, very limited blood tests, and they're usually very, it's whatever's covered by insurance generally. This is not covered by your insurance. However, you can use FSA, HSA accounts to purchase it, which is great. So it's really a great thing to take a look at every single year and see how your body's doing inside and out. And you can do add-on tests. So they have cancer screenings, they have MRIs, CAT scans, as well as a million other blood tests for specific things. Maybe you have a specific concern you want to get tested for, they have it in there. And what's interesting is that I noticed that they actually test for Epstein-Barr virus. And I know we've mentioned this before on the show in the past, but Kendall suffered for several years from reactivated Epstein-Barr virus, which is mono. So if you ever had mono in your life, this virus never leaves the body. It's always there, and it can reactivate and can cause all sorts of health issues, especially chronic pain and inflammation. And this was something that we had no idea about for a long time till we found out about this test. And sure enough, you can get this blood test done through Function Health if maybe you're somebody who's worried about potentially having reactivated Epstein-Barr virus, which was really cool to see. I was really happy to see that they offered this because it could absolutely give you information about your state of well-being that you haven't been able to figure out from anywhere else. And I really love that about this service, is it really is personalized to you and to your concerns. So if you want to learn more about Function Health and take advantage of this special offer, you can use our link. The first 1,000 get $100 credit toward their membership. Visit www.functionhealth.com/milehigher or use code milehigher100 at sign up to own your health. Meanwhile, the supposed DNA samples from the crime scene indicated that the men were of Asian descent. Both Montreal and Namsad were tested publicly, and police said that neither were a match. And this was interesting because Warapon, Namsad's father and the most powerful man on the island, began offering a 1 million baht reward for anyone who could prove that his family was not involved in the crime. Like, what is that? Which is $30,000 by the way. So a lot of money to anyone that could just prove that his family had nothing to do with the crime. The police, instead of following up on any leads that would relate to Thai nationals, announced a policy of testing the DNA of every Burmese migrant on the island, which again is around 5,000 people.
How fucking insane is that?
Crazy.
God.
Just Burmese migrants too, not a single Thai national.
Unbelievable.
Unreal. After they had tested 200 people, Amnesty International and civil rights activist Annie Hall alleged that the Thai police had gathered these tests through abuse, threats, and torture, specifically targeting illegal Burmese migrants who the local police had already extorted for decades. It was just, evil. Then out of nowhere, Montreal accused British national and friend of David, Sean McAnna, of being covered in blood the night of the murders. Sean had been living on the island after graduating from Leeds University, where he had befriended David. Sean was a DJ nicknamed the Candyman because it's alleged that he may have been selling quite a bit of drugs there on the island. In the days following David's murder, he posted a few memorial statuses to his Facebook page paying tribute to his friend. He said that David had tried to save Hannah, although it's unclear if he had unknown information or something, or he just was remembering his friend as a hero. But then suddenly he posted a status that just said, quote, "Thai Mafia are trying to kill me. Please help me. Sky News, phone me." Then he posted a photo of Montreal with a policeman and said, quote, "Owner of AC Bar did it. Guy on the left is the leader." Which is interesting. If you think the Thai Mafia is trying to kill you, that you then post the Thai Mafia on your Facebook page.
Yeah, that
seems kind of counterproductive. But maybe he's like, they're going to get me.
Desperate, might as well.
Here's who's did it. So
yeah,
pretty wild.
I think that was the thought process.
After a few days of silence, Sean was interviewed by The Telegraph en route to the Koh Samui ferry, where he said this. Play the clip.
I went to a bar where a guy started asking me questions because he knew that I knew the guy who died. I need to have my name mentioned. And three of them sat me down and started asking me questions. And I was a bit drunk, so I was answering them. And then they just said to me, "It was you who killed them. You've got two people's deaths in your hands. We know it was you. You're gonna hang yourself tonight. You're gonna hang yourself tonight. We're gonna watch you hang. But you died tonight." So I just ran and just left and ran.
You think they are connected to what happened?
I think they needed a scapegoat. I think they might know who it was. They don't want it to be locals. They want it to be a Westerner. So if I kill myself here, if I hang myself here, then it's easy to say, I see it was him. Genuinely. Thought that was me dead. I was gone.
It was also noted that Sean suffered similar wounds to David and Hannah. While the garden hoe and wooden club at the scene were determined to be the murder weapons, small and deep cuts on both Hannah and David seemed to have come from a push knife, which is commonly used among Thai Mafia members. Sean visibly suffered from the same looking wounds on both his arm and leg. People speculated that while members of the Tuvician family were intimidating him, Sean was stabbed, And while Sean has never confirmed this, and he claimed the injuries came from something else, photos of his bloodstained guitar made their way online as well. While Sean also maintained that he was not out drinking with David that evening, there are alleged photos that show him out with David the night of his murder, though they don't seem to be available online anymore. After returning to his home in Scotland, Sean would plead guilty to possessing indecent photos of children, which I think says a lot about the guy. I don't know, like part of me is like, could he have been involved possibly? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I personally don't think he was involved with the murders, but I do think that whoever was intimidating him, if we're going to believe that as truth, kind of knew his reputation as a sketchy guy and knew that he would be a pretty good scapegoat.
Right, true.
He would just kind of fit the profile.
Right.
Yeah. But meanwhile, back on Koh Tao, 3 Burmese migrants were detained following CCTV footage that showed 3 men riding a motorbike in the direction of Sairee Beach. And these 3 men were Mau Mau, Zaw Lin, and Wei Pio. Mau Mau was the first to be detained, but was subsequently released after telling the police that he was separated from the other 2 men at Sairee Beach and later found them asleep in his home close by later that night. However, he was more likely released because Mau Mau was a legal Thai resident, while Wei Pio and Zhao Lin were not. Zhao Lin was found later at the home, and Wei Pio was found hiding in a boat on October 2nd after it was rumored that he had left the island. Police also said that they found David Miller's smashed cell phone within the home of one of Zhao Lin's friends. And the 2 men were initially detained because of their legal status within the country, and issues with their investigation began almost immediately, and this is just insane. I mean, for one, the 2 men were denied legal representation, guys, for 8 days, and the police hired Burmese food vendors to translate the questioning, which is just insane. And not only did those vendors not understand the Thai dialect, but they were also from another part of Myanmar that was extremely biased against the region that Zaw Lin and Wei Pio were from. And they even alleged that the vendors had assaulted them at one point during the questioning. And on top of that, the phone that had allegedly been found was likely turned in by David's friends in the days following the murder, and it was simply planted at the scene when the 2 men were arrested. Also, the DNA results returned positive less than a day after the men were arrested. However, this was met by speculation from forensic experts, because how could the DNA be extracted, then brought to Bangkok, and accurately tested all within 16 hours? It doesn't take an expert to say, something's wrong there. And following the positive results, the 2 men confessed to the murders, and according to Thai law, which this is wild, you guys, I had no idea this was a thing, but following a confession, the guilty must return to the crime scene and act out the events in detail. And this is just open for people to watch.
Yeah,
for
nuts.
the media to cover. It's like a play. It's insane. But this one in particular was met with a lot of media attention. And those watching pointed out that it seemed like Wei Pio and Zaw Lin were being directed by the police rather than acting out the crime on their own accord. And here we have actually a clip from it, and you can really, I think, tell what's going on.
Displaying little emotion as they stood on the Koh Tao Beach, 2 Myanmar suspects who've allegedly admitted to murdering British tourists Hannah Witheridge and David Miller can be seen giving officers detailed information of their movements while actors replayed the events. On Friday, the Burmese suspects, identified as 21-year-olds Tae Win and Zhao, were escorted by police officers and wore safety vests and helmets in case of lynching by onlookers on the island. Thai police carried out a reconstruction of the brutal murder, with an actor playing one of the victims. With the Thai police under much criticism over their handling of the case, the Thai National Police Chief insisted he was confident that they'd caught the right men.
These 2 suspects are the ones who committed the crime that day. At the same time, the suspects admitted that they are the real culprits. So today we've brought both to do a reconstruction to confirm that police did their duty correctly.
The
The bodies of David Miller and Hannah Witheridge were discovered on a beach on what's known as Turtle Island on September 15th, close to the hotel where they were staying.
What are your thoughts on that?
I just wanted to quickly say that they referred to them by different names because early on in the investigation, they were not they were not like spoken about in the media by their correct names. So that's why when they say the two men are da 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 and da da da,
yeah,
that's why
the media just had it wrong.
They had it wrong at that point.
Good clarification there. What are your thoughts on that?
It seems like the only reason for doing this is so that the public believes they did it. Like I don't see any investigational gains to be had from this at all.
No, this is just standard for all cases then.
Yeah, I just don't understand. It just seems like...
You think that's why they do it for all cases? I mean,
not
like,
necessarily,
why?
But like,
yeah.
what is the point of it?
I know, it's
because
really bizarre.
Yeah, and like, what if somebody refuses to do it? Then what do they do?
Which is like, obviously, sometimes you see that in cases with most
crime scene
plea
reconstruction,
deals
or they'll like take you to the scene, but they're not like getting actors to
be the victim. Isn't that wild?
Act out the murder. Like, that's just bizarre.
It really is. But it definitely seemed to me like they're being coached, just how much they're being touched. And there's other clips where they're like petting their heads. And I don't know. I think it's a reminder of we're in control here. Possibly, in my opinion. But
I mean, specifically in that clip, I think the point where one of the men they're holding the garden hoe. And you can see the police are like pointing like, okay, what? And he's just kind of like holding it limply.
He's like, what do you want me to do with this? Right. What's the next? Almost like we're in a play. What's my next line? What's my next move?
They don't move with any confidence whatsoever.
Right.
Like they look like they've never swung a garden hoe in their life.
Yep.
They're not showing any aggressive movement whatsoever. It just is, which again, they could just be faking it, you know what I mean? Just being like, trying to act like they don't know what they're doing, but it just, I don't know. It's very bizarre. And the message that they're sending out to the media is like, this will prove, that there will be no doubt that these are the right guys. It just seems like,
see,
in this case, it's there as further proof to convince you that justice is served. We're great police. We've done a great job. We've handled this perfectly. We've done it. We've caught them. Here's the proof. But it's like, how about proof based off actual evidence, not a crime scene reconstruction play? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and
what's
their actual evidence is very sketchy.
Very shoddy.
How are you getting this DNA back in 16 hours? It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's also something about this being a relatively new government, like a relatively new fascist government. This is easily the most high profile case they've had to cover. I mean, it's the first international murder case this particular government has to cover. So I think to your point, Josh, like that added level of being like, the world is watching. We need to get these guys in front of cameras with the weapons to make it like look like we did our jobs as the new government and that these guys are the perpetrators.
Especially because there's so much attention on this case. I wonder if in other circumstances, obviously they always have this whole acting out thing that they do, but do they always bring in cameras like this? Do they always work with the media and invite them and tell them when and where it's going to be?
According to Google, it's actually not always. It says crime reenactments are sometimes used in murder investigations to help investigators visualize the crime and verify confessions. The practice involves suspects describing or acting, blah, blah. In some cases, these reenactments are done publicly, serving as a form of public humiliation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not all the time? I thought it was just standard for their case.
No, I think they have an option to do it if they want to. Like, it's part of the system,
I don't like that.
Which it's like,
standard.
What's the reason for doing it other than public humiliation? Like, what is there really to be gleaned from it?
And to confirm their theory.
Right. Which just seems so, like,
if
weak.
They're using
out of all of the evidence you can possibly gather at a crime scene, to have the perpetrators who you think did it act it out.
Right.
And kind of forcefully act it out with, like, you hovering over them and, like, grabbing their shoulder and touching their arms and then having a million police surrounding you, like, that's pretty intimidating, right?
Yeah.
So
very.
I don't really see a huge benefit to that whatsoever. I'd rather see the DNA test results.
Yeah.
Like, show us the actual forensic evidence that you gathered.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to do that. Because you also have to remember too, they want to protect the tourism industry above, first and foremost. Like, maybe Janelle looked this up. What's the top industry in Thailand? Where does tourism rank in that? And I guarantee you it contributes a lot to the GDP there, for sure. And so they want to make it appear like, look, we're showing force. We have all these officers there. We're taking this seriously. We found the guys. And also think about it too, is like, we wouldn't have known about this, the abuses of the migrants had we not done research on it. Like, what are the likelihoods that the rest of the world who's watching it back home in Britain even know about the exploitation that's happening on this island? And, the underlying facts about the Tuvician family and all these other things going on there, that's not being publicized to the rest of the world.
Of course not.
So to the rest of the world, it looks like Thai Royal Police did a stellar job. They're on top of it. They got the guys. They've got evidence. They've done DNA tests. They're just giving us what they want us to see.
Yeah.
But the reality is far different once you dig into it.
It looks like it's between 12 and 20% of Thailand's GDP, which is, I think the U.S. is around 3% and Europe is around 10%. So you can kind of get an idea. So it is high. Yeah. It's very high.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to make it appear to the rest of the world that this is worse. It's safe here. We're on top of crime here.
Mm-hmm. Also, 8 days after the men confessed, human rights advocates like Andy Hall learned that they had never received legal representation from the moment they were arrested. And they immediately went to Koh Tao to meet with these men. And the advocates were horrified to find that Wei Pio and Zha Lin were covered in bruises. Big shocker there, right? The men revealed that the investigators had tortured them, left them naked in a freezing room, and they were recorded by investigators in this room. The men also were threatened with death if they didn't admit to the murders.
No,
so what choice do they have, right? It's insane. So now the two of them are armed with legal representation, and they quickly retracted their confessions and were sent to Koh Samui to await trial. And while they were detained, they ended up speaking to Time magazine about their backgrounds and the violence and poverty that they were escaping in their native Myanmar. And Zha Lin said, quote, "My father died when I was very young, so I left school aged 8 to start helping my mother in the fields when I was 10. And 2 years before the murders, he had paid a broker 5,000 bahts, which is about $150 US, to smuggle him into Koh Tao in the hopes of sending back money to his mother. And within the 2 years that he worked at Koh Tao, he sent back $2,000 to his mother, and he said, it's something, but not enough."
Following the arrest, the defense and prosecution worked for over half a year compiling their respective cases. Thailand's Human Rights Commission began investigating the claims of torture made by Zha Lin and Wei Pio. However, while they believed in the photo evidence provided by Andy Hall following their legal representation, no progress was ever made in their official investigation. This was because the police officers allegedly responsible never showed up for a single meeting with the commission. Then Thailand's forensics chief, Dr. Ponthip Rohanasanad, began speaking out in favor of the accused. For one, she argued that any forensic evidence that may have been at the murder scene was likely contaminated by the massive crowds that spawned in the hours after Hannah and David's bodies were discovered. They did not secure the scene properly. In addition, despite being the most experienced and foremost expert on forensics in the entire country, Dr. Ponthip was never shown the DNA evidence or tests used to incriminate Zha Lin and Wei Pio, which is absolutely insane. One of the biggest indicators in this case that there was corruption involved, because why on earth would they not have the forensics expert of the country take a look at this if it wasn't just pushed through or results were changed or results were hidden from the public? And this is because, unlike in the US and other countries, evidence does not have a chain of custody, and it was entirely up to the police to decide who examined the evidence. Dr. Ponthip said police contradicted the principles of forensic science and then asked to re-examine that evidence herself. However, the investigators denied Dr. Ponthip's request. Hannah and David's families released a joint statement saying the evidence against the two accused was powerful and convincing, which further swayed public opinions about the two men. The defense was not allowed to see the prosecution's case, a 900-page police report, until 1 day before the trial commenced on July 8th, 2015. So basically just screwed over the defense. Like, you have 900 pages to go through we start trial tomorrow. Crazy. The prosecution argued that Wei Pio and Zha Lin had become enraged and filled with sexual jealousy after they saw Hannah and David kissing on the beach. So that was the prosecution's motive for the murders, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I guess it is possible. The defense, meanwhile, focused on the investigation's poor handling of forensic evidence and the strong bias against their nationality, which just seemed very obvious here. According to them, Wei Pio and Zha Lin smoked cigarettes that night on Sairee Beach before they took a swim. When they returned to the shore, they realized their clothes had gone missing, and they headed back to Mama's place because it was much closer than where they lived. They even explained that they found a smashed cell phone on the beach and intended to sell it. However, this is kind of confusing because David's friend said that they handed over his cell phone to the police right after the murder. So is it possible that there could have been two phones, or what is this other phone? That it doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all.
I'm confused.
And then on July 10th, the judges, who are also the sole jury there, so there's no jury of your peers or anything like that.
Nope. Judge gets the final say. It could be totally corrupt.
The judges ordered that Dr. Ponthip be allowed to retest the DNA evidence against the two men. And the prosecution stated this was impossible as they had used all of the DNA that they found on Hannah's body during the initial tests. However, they did allow Dr. Ponthip to test the garden hoe, and she was able to locate 2 DNA profiles in the weapon in addition to Hannah's and David's, and neither of them matched Wei Pio and Zha Lin. So here you go. You have the murder weapon. There's 2 DNA profiles that don't match either of these guys who are on trial for the murders. And it's like, what are we doing?
You would think maybe this would add up to something.
Yeah. And the prosecution's excuse for this was that, the garden hoe had been washed.
No, maybe you idiots shouldn't have given it back that day.
So this is just, the perpetrators, we have the right ones. Their DNA got washed off. This must have been the 2 people's DNAs that were cleaning this hoe after.
Just take our word for it.
Yeah. Again, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This seems like a slam dunk for the defense, right? However, the entire jury was comprised of judges overseeing the case. And while they had Dr. Ponthip on their side, the defense could not get any Koh Tao locals to testify because they likely feared retaliation from the Koh Tao Mafia, right? They have to live there. So they're going to go against what the mafia wants to happen in this particular case. No. The defense was also blundered by not including testimony from a foreign forensics expert who questioned the validity of the initial DNA results. This was likely because they feared using a foreign expert would sway the nationalistic judges against their argument, which I kind of get to some degree, like maybe they would do more harm than good. But again, it might have been good to just get one more forensic expert's opinion
why not?
Out there who is completely removed from Thailand. But they didn't do that. On December 24th, 2015, Wei Pio and Zha Lin were found guilty of the murders of David Miller and Hannah Witheridge and were sentenced to death.
Death. Yeah.
Wild.
Crazy.
Actually, here's a clip of David's family expressing support for this verdict.
And I understand wanting to see that justice and that relief they would have while he's smiling and, it's hard. I want to support them. This case is just nuts.
We believe that, after a difficult start, the Royal Thai Police conducted a methodical and thorough investigation. Having listened carefully to all the evidence, and despite what their lawyers say, it is our opinion that the evidence against Wei Pio and Zha Lin is absolutely overwhelming. They raped to satisfy their selfish desires and murdered to cover up that fact. They have shown no remorse during the trial. Initially, they confessed for almost 2 weeks and then recanted in an attempt to avoid justice.
They were tortured.
We hope the campaigners who have relentlessly publicized this case will respect the process of law and the decision of the court. We believe the correct verdict has been reached. Finally, we'd like to thank everyone who has supported us over the last year. Our thoughts are also with the Witheridge family and the horrors they are also enduring with so much dignity.
I think that wailing in the background is either Wei or Zha's mother or both of them.
Because I know in the longer documentary they did show that, but I couldn't find anything to confirm that it was exactly that in this clip.
It sounds very similar to when they were crying. It's really, this is such a tough case to discuss, because obviously we always want to support victims' families, but we also believe in true justice. And I don't know if justice was truly reached here. I mean, I don't think you can conclusively say that. It's interesting to me that he really says, we've looked thoroughly through, we believe they conducted this case correctly and the evidence is overwhelming. And I don't know, but I understand being in that position. You would want closure and justice, and it's just really, really tough.
Yeah, I think it's difficult too, because if you're looking at this from their perspective as well, here you have a loved one who's been murdered in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, most recently we covered Elliot Warren's case, there was zero investigation. There was zero suspects charged. And so I think in this particular case, maybe it was just maybe they're not 100% convinced, but they are convinced enough that this, at least there's some acknowledgement of the crimes that were committed. There's a, they trusted the system enough to not, lock up the wrong person. But it's just, with the punishment so severe in this case, to face death.
Yeah, right.
Based on the evidence presented.
We trust it enough that we're okay with.
And again, we don't have any video footage of the courtroom or like how things were portrayed or what the actual trial was like and what arguments were made that maybe if we had been in the courtroom, we might have been thinking the same thing as David's family, just based off the way that it was portrayed or the way that they presented the case. Right. So I think it's hard to say either way, but I think when it comes down to it, I think there's way too many question marks here to land on a sentence of death, especially
when there's other potential suspects who you look at and you're like,
But it's difficult, like once there's corruption going on, it's difficult to, like, how do you even navigate that? Like, what can you do as a foreign visitor in that situation? Really nothing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's difficult. I understand why they feel the way they do, for sure.
Yeah, I do too. But also, I would want, the person or people who are responsible to actually be held accountable and pay for what they did. And if they have the wrong people, then their killers are free or killer.
Right. Well, if you want to talk about preventing something like this from ever happening again,
right,
we have a lot of issues here because there's clearly something bigger going on Koh Tao and especially when you start looking at all the other suspicious deaths that have happened there to tourists, which many of them they just say are misadventure or, their fault, accidents, things like that. But there's a lot of other question marks in these deaths as well. So yeah, it's difficult though.
To think about possibly two innocent people being sentenced to death.
Young people whose now lives are over.
With potentially racist motives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... And they could have done it. They could be guilty, but do I think it was proved beyond a reasonable doubt? No.
But that's the thing is, that's not required.
Yeah.
In other justice systems is not required at all.
It's wild. So while David and Hannah's families have obviously expressed support for convictions, we just heard David's brother speak, but also Hannah's family, for the most part, believes that they have the right guys. Not all of them believe that, though. Hannah's sister, Laura, actually posted a lengthy status on Facebook alleging that the killers still walked free. Now, she passed away in 2019 at the age of 30 following complications from a surgery. Terribly sad. God, her poor parents. To lose both of her daughters like that, their daughters.
Yeah, that's absolutely horrible.
But here's what Laura had to say. She said, "Would it surprise you if I told you that the Thais view drug possession as a more serious offense than rape or murder. The vast majority of the Thai police force are corrupt. What if I told you that when we went to Thailand to bring Hannah home, we were offered the opportunity to go to the Royal Thai Police headquarters for an official update, but that on arrival, we were taken into a large room, left for 5 minutes before the door opened, and around 200 journalists were allowed into the room. We were ambushed by this mob of hungry journalists, shoving cameras in our faces. The Thai police chief has no intentions of giving us an update. After all, they bungled the investigation, meant he had nothing to tell us. The invitation was so that he could make money out of our misery. The press had paid him generously for 5 minutes to capture photographs of our family. The photographs in this post serve as evidence of this, and she posted a link. I don't know if it's still available. We'll check. No?
No, the only place I could find her post were screenshots of the post, but I couldn't actually
get the link.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's been taken down. I'm sure those photos are very traumatic for them. But what if I told you that since we lost Hannah, there have been many more suspicious deaths in Koh Tao? You probably haven't heard of them all, as not all of them were British nationals. The deaths, where possible, are covered up as suicides and accidents. This would have happened with Hannah if it had not been for the hideous brutality of her passing. I highly suspect that with this latest tragedy, the Thais will say that it was an accidental death caused by drugs. Hiding in the truth and offering a story that suits is something they often do. My thoughts are with Luke Miller's family and friends. So she's referring to Luke Miller. What if I told you that I have had many death threats from Thai people since they murdered my sister, that they have defaced photographs of me saying that the killers had only done half the job? What if I told you that people commented on these photographs saying things like there's still time and TikTok, TikTok? What if I told you that I have been sent crime scene photographs? What if I told you that I have been chased in my car? What if I told you that the Thais offered us compensation to try to keep us quiet? Obviously, we're absolutely appalled and told them to shove it. What if I told you that I am now frightened of my own shadow, that I am constantly looking over my shoulder, that I'm exhausted but frightened to sleep because of my nightmares? I miss my sister desperately. My heart is heavy and my mind is tired. And this is just part of her post, but it's obvious that she really questions the outcome of the trial.
After numerous denials for an appeal in their case, King Wachiralakong commuted their sentences to life in prison. And this was supported by David's family, actually, as they are against the death penalty. So,
yeah, at least there's
spared their lives, at the very least. But still, their lives are effectively over. They're in prison the rest of their life. But as I've kept mentioning throughout this episode, suspicious deaths and crime still plague the island. A foreign tourist revealed that in 2013, he and a woman were attacked in the same spot where Hannah and David were found. He alleged that members of the mafia also carried out this attack. And in 2016, another British man named Luke Miller was found dead in a bar pool, also on Sairee Beach. Police ruled it as an accident, though his family believed that something sinister had taken place. Currently, the AC bar is 3.5 stars on TripAdvisor, and Ocean View Bungalows, like I said, is 2.5. The current whereabouts and dealings of the Tuvician family and the Koh Tao Mafia are still unknown. It seems like this is just very much a hush-hush thing that we only know about because of people who've been there or lived on Koh Tao and experienced it firsthand. So it seems like definitely should take extra precautions if going to Koh Tao. And really anywhere you should take precautions, especially late at night, going somewhere where nobody's around, where it's quiet, where it's dark, away from others.
That's just like anywhere in the world.
Yeah, true.
I mean, America's dangerous at night
very
too.
True.
Very
true.
violent. So
anywhere in the world.
Got to stay vigilant.
But especially being if you're visiting another country, definitely go to your country's like travel advisory. Usually, they're one of the departments of your government will have like travel advisories for countries that you're visiting, right? Mm-hmm. And you can actually see like potential warnings for different areas to stay away from, or
I wonder if they had any
activity.
Like that for Koh Tao.
Here, I'll look it up right now. I'm curious.
Yeah, but this was.
I know, but still today, there's still people dying.
Yeah, see if it's like that now. I'm curious. I don't know if they had that available at the time.
No, not necessarily. But the travel advisory's been around for a while.
Has it?
Yeah. Yeah, the U.S. Department of State describes risks and recommended precautions for, I guess that's U.S. travelers. I know Britain has a similar type of thing too.
I think it's always important to just remind people that, when you're traveling, it's easy that's where you want to relax and let your guard down and have a good time, party and drink. And I'm not victim shaming them at all. But, you definitely want to keep in mind that you should be vigilant because criminals in all countries are looking for people that are, trying to let their guard down and relax and have fun. And that's just even going out to the bars or in any situation where you're trying to just have a good time. You've got to, unfortunately, try your best to remain vigilant and aware of your surroundings and in a safe area.
Register with your embassy.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yes.
If you're going to another country, just smart and look up your embassy's numbers. And usually they have like contact information if you do get into an emergency. It's just smart. It's better to be safe than sorry, just you want to be safe out there. Don't let these things stop you from exploring the world and going to really, really cool places. But it's always good to be, aware of potential dangers, right?
Yeah.
And, also the governments and how does the criminal justice system work in this country if something were to happen? Might be worth looking into.
It's just terrible to think what Hannah and David probably went through.
Yeah. It's a brutal
definitely
end.
went through. I mean, and they're so young, just starting their lives and both really, really smart and going somewhere in life. And
I just am really struggling over motive. Like, what is the motive here?
And for the two of them, they say just jealousy of David because
which
he was
is
kissing
a
her
cultural
and
thing that set this into motion. Part of me also is like, could this have been potentially? Could Sean McCann have been involved in this in some way? Like, could have been like a jealousy thing over Hannah or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, speculating, but there's just like, I don't know. It's a very like heinous murder over, and again, there was sexual assault. So maybe it was just purely sexual motivation here for the entire thing, but I
think that's probably the most likely, but who knows? What do you think?
According to Susan Buchanan, and she's not like a native Thai person. She lived on Koh Samui and Koh Tao, and she was a journalist. But according to her, she was talking again about the concept of saving face, of like basically being very conservative when out in certain Thai bars, especially. And so like at a full moon party, you can go crazy, have fun, yada, yada, yada. But she was saying specifically in the AC bar, because it was like a Tuvician family bar, if they were seen embracing one another, that would not be really allowed, and someone would have talked to them.
Right. Now that's coming back to me.
And another possibility that I've seen people mention is, there's, if they had like, some of these bars have their girls, they kind of have like their call girls there to talk to tourists. And if someone mentioned online, I really don't know how realistic this is, but maybe one of them were rude to said call girl, then whoever was in charge of that girl would have like gotten in their face, and that would have led to the alleged argument between Hannah and the gangster,
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different reasons, I think purely sexual and probably driven by, again, that cultural difference of conservatism and saving face.
Yeah, it certainly could have something to do with that too. Yeah, I think definitely sexual motive is really what makes sense.
Yeah, well, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, do they have the right guys?
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know.
I'm
not 100% convinced.
I am definitely not 100% convinced.
But let us know what you think.
Yeah,
out there.
I want to hear from all of you.
And I'm curious if anyone out there has been to Koh Tao and has any stories of their own, or noticed anything. Were you aware there was a Thai mafia? We'd be curious to know. So leave us a comment or message on socials. Would be awesome. But that's going to be it for us today. If you want to hear more episodes of Mile High Podcast, make sure you're subscribed and following us wherever you listen or watch the show. We appreciate it. But that's going to be it for us today. We'll see you guys next week.
But till then, keep taking your mind a mile higher.